Initially, I was contacted to work with the team that was organizing all the PR marketing materials for the reunion, the homecoming. So I was like, yeah, that sounds amazing. That kind of opened the door to like, hey, what about painting a mural on campus? And so it kind of organically grew into what we have going on here today. Everyone gets a can, the first thing to do is they're like,
yeah.
This entire mural does kind of flow as if you're walking through the campus, and so there's always this constant sense of discovery, and I wanted to really embed that into the mural. You want to rock and roll?
Sure.
Yes, all right, that's what I want to hear. We also thought, what would be awesome is to open this opportunity up to work with, the alum, current students, faculty, staff, and really have that open door to help the community here participate in painting the mural. The Sally Port by itself, like an hour ago, was blank. Now it's just like, this is day one, and I have to say I'm really blown away by all the students that have shown up today because everyone brought their A game. The progress that we've made today is just outstanding, so I can't wait to see how it goes in the next couple of days.
I'm super excited because it's a really nice break in my day. I've been super busy lately with projects and papers and midterms, so this is a nice stress relief.
The creativity here to bring a well-known Houston artist here and to interact with our students and give the students a chance to make the art for the building. And it's just a way where you can turn your thoughts away from both the cares of the world and maybe even the cares of your classes and do something a little bit creative and a little bit spontaneous, and then go back and work on your classes and things. So I think it was a great idea.
For sure, I should have a class in like 30 minutes.
I was born in Houston, and ever since senior year of high school, I've been really into the mural scene. I actually took a sociology of Houston class where my paper was on these murals. So after seeing this opportunity, after seeing Gonzo, who honestly designed so many of Houston's iconic murals, even designed the marathon medal that I ran 2 years ago, I was like, I have to do this. So then I ended up being here.
And I saw this email to come and help paint. I'm an artist on the side. I think art is kind of an important part of my life. So I wanted to be a part of this.
Oh yeah, this is GONZO247 coming at you live from Rice University, hanging out with my homie Sammy the Owl, rocking it on the wall.
Well, this is a super fun thing to do as an alum. I'm hoping that this is going to stay up this year and remind us all of all the homecoming fun. With the virtual, it's a little hard to have permanent reminders, so this is great.
This is one of the first things that I've been able to do with other friends and people, so it's fun because you're doing something artistic, but at the same time you can be having a conversation and just enjoying things besides doing homework or something.
It was really nice just being able to paint together and be outside also, because we're usually stuck in our rooms all day, and we take classes from our rooms. So it was nice to be outside and to also be with a really well-known artists and be able to paint together and just have a good day.
Here we're just offered so many amazing experiences that we just kind of take for granted. There are these just famous people that'll come and give a lecture, or the artists like this will come and just let us hang out with them for an hour and just paint with them. It's just awesome. Once I'm gone here, I'm a senior now, I'll be missing these types of experiences because they're just so plentiful here and just easy to just come by.
Tuesday was completely different. It was all the outlines for everything. There wasn't all the detail and all the shading. And now seeing it on Friday, it's crazy because there's so much of it and it looks awesome.
For me, I think the overall theme that I got from all the participants was, thanks for having this available to me. Everyone is cooped up in their dorm room or in their house, and they're trying their best to have this college experience. And because of what's happening now, that's been altered. But everyone has been thankful for this opportunity to be able to just break away from the virtual world and get back into the real world and be able to be outdoors in the sun, enjoying themselves, and also the camaraderie of painting with some people they knew, some people they just met, but the bonding that was happening while painting together, that's something that they'll always remember. The cool thing is also, we painted over very little. So for the most part, if you had a brush stroke, it's probably still on the wall. And so I think people can keep coming back and they can actually point out, it's that's the part I worked on.
Hi, I'm Will Fowler. I am a lecturer in painting and drawing here at Rice in VADA, the Department of Visual and Dramatic Arts. Right now, I'll be having a conversation with GONZO247. He's a multidisciplinary artist and pioneering street artist, pioneering participant in a long-standing street art movement since the 1980s here in Houston. His work is well known all over town. Gonzo designed and initiated and collaborated on the Owl Together mural that you all just saw, that members of the local community, the Rice community, participated in creating, and as a group, a carefully safe, socially distanced group, and it's been a very busy week of work, and it's all come together. So welcome, Gonzo.
Awesome. Good to see you again.
So yes, I saw the work in progress a few days ago. There was a lot of color. Seemed like right off the bat, you started with the design. Color started happening right away, but I could tell that it was going to change a lot as soon as I left. It was going to be already becoming something new.
Yeah, thankfully, a lot of the design work was already kind of mapped out. Back in, it seems like years ago, but back in February, before all this craziness, lockdown stuff started happening, I actually got contacted by the Department of Development and Alumni Relations. And, they were excited about, the homecoming and the reunion. And they asked me if I could work with them and creating, some digital graphics and assets to use to promote all of this really cool stuff. And I was like, yeah, let's make it happen. And so started working on that, and that artwork and those elements really, it opened that door to the idea of maybe possibly, painting a mural on site as well to kind of coincide with all this. And so thankfully what really helped is being able to use the work that was kind of already generated for all of this and kind of play off of that to create the design that we have for the mural. So thankfully that saved us a lot of time as far as the design process. And it really, it opened the door to having people come in and already just seeing the design and then just adding to that as a starting point. But backtracking, the idea was to have this mural, but I think the most vital part of it was to open it up to the community, to engage with, the Rice community. And that's everything from, the current students, the alum, faculty, staff. Basically, if you're on campus, you had the opportunity to come by and sign up to help put your all into this mural. And I'll be 100% honest, like, I think I said this like a million times, like how impressed I was by really the energy and the excitement that everyone brought to the mural. For me, I deal a lot with with murals on my own, and occasionally I do stuff in the public with audience participation, and it's always a mixed bag. You really never know what to expect, and so I just would say, well, we'll see what happens. And on the first day, the first full day of working, by the time the day was over, I looked up and almost the entire surface was full of color. And I was blown away at how fast we had progressed on this mural. And I was like, whoa, if this is day one, this is going to be a really fun thing. So I was really excited with the progress. And what was really fun for me was that at the end of the first day, someone came by and was like, oh, wow, you're about finished with the wall. And I was thinking, well, not quite. And then the next day there was another jump in progress and people were like, whoa, it looks like you're done. I'm like, hold on. And it's like every time people thought it was finished, there was always something we could add. And I think that's the beauty of art is working in layers. And for, most people that aren't artists or painters, it's hard to really understand the concept, but really it's like you keep coming back and you start noticing, oh, wow, like that I thought was done, but now you were able to bring that out with highlights and shadows or textures. And it's just a beautiful way to kind of tell that story across the week.
I I was very curious about how you were choosing the colors from space to space. There seemed to be a flow from one side to the other, and some kind of ideas about how the colors were going to interact. And
Yeah, so for me, I was once asked, what's your favorite color palette you like to use? And my response was loud, right? So I like loud, vibrant, and high contrasting colors. And for me, I just kind of see that working. And I wanted something that was really dynamic, and I wanted something that was going to pull you in from across the campus. The other thing I love about this opportunity was Rice University really understood who I was as an artist and didn't try to change who I was artistically. And so they really just gave me kind of like some bullet points or some direction, but pretty much let me do it the way I felt, how I would do it. And I think when you allow an artist to be an artist, it yields a better result. And so, it wasn't a situation where it's like, hey, you have to stick with these this color palette or these Pantones. It was like, hey, do what you do, and let's just make this happen. And so for me, I really wanted colors that were really dynamic, that in a sense really spoke visually about the university or about the staff, about the students. Like, there's so much vibrancy on campus that I really wanted that to reflect with the colors. And I wanted the entire composition to be really, when I first thought about it, was kind of a day in the life of being on campus. So as you look at the mural, at the very far background is kind of this skyscape, and there's a general transition from blues, all the way across to the pinks, and for me it symbolizes like morning to evening, and it's really the idea of no matter when you're on campus, whether it's daytime, afternoon, or evening, or all day, there's something to do and experience at any given moment at the university. So I definitely wanted the composition to travel, and the colors was a good way to kind of lead the eye through the entire space. There are some shapes in the background that resemble the trees on campus. There's a sort of large shapes that draw you in, but you get closer and you start to see some details forming. And I was wondering there are lots of little campus moments here and there, and I understand that you had a lot of input images to work with. Yeah, so again, it was really fun to kind of, someone, it's like shaking a bag and it's like, boom, here you go. What can you do with this? It's like, playing Scrabble, like, okay, I have all these letters, like what kind of quote word can I make? And so the challenge was, how can we incorporate these different elements artistically that was really fun to kind of incorporate and integrate with the composition. So I had some fun kind of, trying to figure out the unique way to place them. And also, as I've kind of walked the campus, there are things that I just jumped out at me that's like, okay, this is really cool. And so as you look, obviously in the background, we have, the transition of color, which also is kind of a nod to the James Turrell, where we have the general changing of the color in the background. That's kind of a nod to that. And then obviously the oak trees. But moving forward, on the right-hand side, we have kind of this fanning out. That was kind of this idea of these abstract feathers, but each little shape is an abstract interpretation of kind of looking down, the buildings that have the arcs, and you look down, it's almost like this tunnel of arcs. And so that's kind of a way as in you're going through. And so that's one of the elements that's incorporated. Then throughout the entire port or the entire landscape, we have an interpretation of the gravel paths that you see all the way around the campus. You do see a moment where Sammy the Owl shows up, and the whole time we're trying to figure out the best way to pop him in, and with some input, it's like, why don't we try this? But it wasn't until Sammy showed up and he was painting, and he kind of turned his head, and I caught his head at the right angle, and I was like, that's the look, that's the angle. And I actually took a picture. I was like, okay, now I see it. And so that was able to take that suggestion, and then I had a photograph of him, and I was able to merge those two together and then pop it up. So it worked out perfectly. The other thing also was, as I was working, my goal was to have a composition that read really well from across the street that you can see it and read it and understand it. But as you were saying, I also wanted it to be intriguing enough that when you got up to it, the closer you got, the more details just start creeping out, and you start really noticing that there's way more going on. So we wanted to add, more textures, just more in all the shapes, so that you can really see that there's more depth in it. And some of these elements, as the participants would come by, and I would say, okay, here's the deal. This is what I'm thinking. And I would say, well, what do you think? And some of them, I don't know. I was like, okay, let's go with that. Or I would say, this is the idea that I'm looking for. How would you do it? And they're like, well, I would try that. Okay, then keep doing that. And so a lot of these things, I kind of, the same way Rice University gave me the opportunity to kind of do it the way I would do it, I use that same mentality and that same kind of support to say, hey, how would you do it? Okay, let's see how it looks. And what I really found interesting is, a lot of people love to paint and love to help and participate, but a lot of people tend to show up with this reservation of like, I don't want to mess it up, or I'm not a real artist, or I don't paint, and they have this fear of ruining things. And I have to tell them, look, we're here to have fun. Just be yourself, and don't worry about messing up, because the more you worry about messing up, the more you will mess up. It's more like messing up is part of the process. If it happens, it happens. It's just paint. Let it dry. We paint over it. And once people got the sense of like, okay, if I screw up, it's okay. If I mess up, it's okay. Like, then once they let go of that, then they can be fully themselves. And that's when everything beautiful starts to come together. So that was one of the real things that I really enjoyed, is to see people transform literally as they started to paint. But all the textures, all the patterns, it really was something that I wanted to incorporate, so that no matter how far or close you were, it was something that was visually interesting.
Mm-hmm. So you really did have a lot of people who don't paint much, maybe have never picked up a brush before. You had a table with a lot of colors in little buckets, a lot of choices, very, very active painting, even the early stages, a lot going on. And it sounds like a little bit of guidance gets people sort of in a direction, and then that's sometimes all it takes.
Yeah, so from my experience, I could have come on campus and I could have painted this entire thing myself, and it would have looked a certain way. But what's the fun in that, right? Like, it's like, this is for the Rice community. So being able to bring people and have them be a part of it, it really changed the mural, because every hour a new group would show up, 3 to 4 different people would show up, and they all hold the brush different, and they all had different colors, and some knew how to use a brush, some didn't. So the more people that kept adding and putting their heart and their soul into it, the more that the mural itself started to transform, and it kind of took on a life of its own. Now, if I would have been the type of person that said, okay, this is your area, you got to fill it this color, and this is the way it's got to be, and kind of on top of people, then there would be more stress involved. And I think the mural would reflect that, versus, hey, this is your area, just kind of go with it. And once you give that, then I think the mural has been embedded with that positive outlook and that optimism. And I think that's what you're really feeling, is you're kind of getting that second hand of the positive environment that we set. And it really reflects when you watch and when you look at the art. I think you come away with this awesome sense of like calm and like, okay, this is cool.
There's one section, there's a kind of flowing line of banners that when I was there were just started. They were just, some colors were blocked in. That turned out to look very different in the end.
Yeah, so one of the things that was suggested and people would like to see were the different colleges. And, there was like a million ways to try and figure out how to incorporate, the college. And one of the things that I started to look at is, everyone has their shield or their crest. And it would be one thing to try to incorporate the entire crest or shield. But I tried to play around with that concept, and the more I tried to plug it in, it just seemed like it was just placed and not integrated. So then the idea came about of like, you know, different pennants, and to kind of abstractly incorporate that, what I did is I looked at all the shields or all the crests, and I pulled out something that was visual from each shield or crest, that if you belong to that college, you have it memorized and seared into your brain, so you would pick up on that. So each pennant has something that was pulled out of the crest that is identifiable, so you don't necessarily have to name each one or have every last detail of the crest, but it's almost like a nod to it so that you can kind of know. So they start, there's 11 in a row from left to right, halfway, and then they repeat to the other half. So it was really fun to see people kind of catch on, like, oh my God, that's what that is. And you know, try to look for their own.
It was interesting for me to see how abstract things were in the beginning, and then a picture started to emerge. There was another part where I kind of said, oh, there's some brown shapes down there that sort of looks like a coffee bean or something, and then I came to understand it was the beginnings of a squirrel tail.
Yeah. So again, having fun with these different elements. Again, just having a really fun way to kind of implement, integrate, and just have them be a part of the composition. And again, it's like when people came and they started to see, and then they start to discover, like, oh, that's what that is. And they kind of connect the dots. And what was really amusing was everyone that figured out these are squirrel tails, they're like, of course, like, you know, how can you not have something with rice and not have squirrels in it? And it was really amazing how everyone, you know, they were so upbeat, and like these squirrels were so endearing, and people really valued the squirrels. And it was, even this one guy was like, oh, they all have lost weight. Like all the squirrels used to be big and chubby, and now no one's here feeding them, so they are all losing weight. And you know, the fact that to hone in and notice that was really, really funny. But yeah, so we had the squirrel tails, and it's I think that's part of the campus life, you know.
How many, when I was there, I saw a handful of students. How many people do you think you had come through during the week, or did you lose track? Or
you know what? So we had Alejandra who was in charge of making sure the signups happened and people showed up. And so you know, thankfully, she handled all the logistics, so I could just focus on each group as they came in. But I mean, we had, I think, like I said, 3 to 4 people pretty much every hour, you know, from 9 to 5. So that was, you know, quite a few, you know, for 5 days. So that's a lot of people. And you know, what I really loved is from the very beginning, the very first group that showed up, I was like, okay, this is going to be a different type of situation, because I started to notice that I'm being introduced and I'm meeting people literally from around the world. I mean, in my mind, I don't know why, I just thought, oh, it's going to be a bunch of people from Houston, right? Just, you know, students here. But I didn't really even think, you know, I didn't really put it in my head to think that I'm going to be meeting people from everywhere. And it was really surprising that, you know, when people showed up, you know, I asked them, you know what their name is, what are you doing? What are you studying? You know, where are you from? And I'm thinking, where are you from, as in what part of Houston? And everyone's like, oh, I'm from India. I'm from China. I mean, like, everyone was from everywhere, and, you know, all across the United States. And it was really cool to see everyone coming together. And some of the people that signed up had never met each other, and so they're meeting for the first time at the wall. And what was really cool is, you know, just seeing people from different parts of the world, and some of them just got here in August, so they'd never been to, you know, hadn't been to Houston or lived here long. They just started, freshmen, and this was their first experience, right? So like, you know, due to what's going on now, everyone can say that the typical college experience has been somewhat limited. And a lot of these freshmen that from other countries that just got here, they were like, this is the first thing that we've done. You know, we've been cooped up in a house or an apartment or the dorm. And for them, and everybody really, but for them, this was their first taste of really being out and interacting in Houston per se. And for other people, a lot of them, this is their first time that really just came out and did something that could be considered normal. And what I really felt is that people understood that this is I guess a precious time and moment right now to be able to hang out with other people and to come together and work on this mural and collectively, like, you know, be able to bring this thing to life. And that really, I took that away. You know, I really got that sense of the Rice community, really, because, you know, people, when they meet, they start asking each other, like, what college are you in? And, you know, what classes are you taking in? And they start comparing schedules and you know, what they're doing. And so at some point, I just kind of became the bystander, like listening to the conversation. And it was really interesting just to kind of see, you know, how they're even handling things now. Like they were talking about, you know, what the current situation's like and how they were dealing with it and giving each other tips. And I was like, this is really cool. But the bottom line was everyone is dealing with the same thing, but everyone had a positive outlook. Everybody was looking on the bright side, and everyone that came, literally they brought their A game. Everyone came and just rocked out. And it was really a pleasant experience to be a part of that. And what was really cool is the very first day I had this, again, a student who was from India, and, you know, we're having fun, we're painting, and all of a sudden he's on his phone. And, you know, I'm just a fun guy and I like to talk to people and interact. So I saw him on the phone and I kind of looked and he was FaceTiming. And I was like, yo, what's up? Who you talking to? He's like, I'm talking to my brother. And it was a little kid that was 8 years old. And his brother was in India. So he's FaceTiming, and it was like, I don't know, evening over there. So I started talking to his little brother, and it was just so cool. Like, here I am in Houston at Rice, yet I'm having this conversation with this 8-year-old in India. And like, that was just like awesome. That kind of sums it up right there.
Wow. And could you talk a little bit about the title of the mural and how, I mean, it seems like that seems very related to what you're talking about right now.
Yeah, you know, a lot of times, you know, when I paint, I always like to get inspiration from my surroundings. I'll have an idea of what I'm going to do. I might even have the whole design planned out. But once I'm on site and once I get into it, I really do, you know, I absorb my surroundings and I let that kind of guide me and push me in different directions. And I channel that into the piece I'm working on. And so for this one, it was the same thing, you know, again, interacting with the students, the alum, the staff, you know, the faculty, you know, just the squirrels, you know, the sun, the weather was beautiful. And all of this, communicating with everybody and you know, everyone acknowledging and saying things to me. Like I was there also participating, but everyone's like, yo, thanks for putting this together. Thank you for giving us something to do. Thank you for having us be a part of this and getting me out of my dorm room, my room. And what I really noticed is that everybody was really mindful and respectful of everybody's time. And everyone understood the moment we're living in now. And really, I really got the sense that everyone was making the best of every moment that they were there. And I really think everyone now is just making the best of what we have. And so I kind of, at the end of this, I really felt that, and led me to the title, but I really felt that we were all adding value to the moment. And I was like, that's kind of what this was all about. And even with the homecoming, with the reunion, like, we're all coming together in weird times, but whenever we do have these moments, we have to make the best of it. And we all owe it to each other to add that value to now. And so I thought, you know, the final title would be adding value to the moment. So I think that speaks for today's times and moving forward. You should always add value to your moments.
On that note, I would like to say thank you, GONZO247, for your fantastic piece, your fantastic week on campus. Everybody you've interacted with, and thank you for the final event of our All Together week.
Well, Will, it was awesome to meet you. I enjoyed our conversations out at the wall. Thank you to Jeremy, the entire development alum relations crew. You know, the other thing is everyone kept coming up to me and saying, thank you, and you're doing a great job, and this wall is awesome. And I kept having to turn it around and say, don't thank me. Like this isn't my own, I'm not the only person here. Like this is everyone's wall. This is all of ours. So I think the thank you goes to everyone that participated, everyone that was involved behind the scenes, everyone that came to hang out just to watch. Like, I think we were all a part of this. So if anyone gets a thanks, it's got to be the University of Rice for making all this happen. So, but thank you for hanging out with me and inviting me to participate. Thank you all for making me a part of the All Together week. I think this is a great way to wrap it up, and I look forward to what's coming up next. You know, hopefully this will be the beginning of something fresh.
Fantastic. Wonderful.